Hi, and welcome to a slightly unusual Rule of Carnage this week. Firstly, you'll notice unusual because neither mine nor Mike's faces are up on screen. What you're looking at here is a shot of UKGE, the biggest tabletop gaming convention in the UK. And that's where myself and Mike have spent the weekend, which means that firstly, we weren't together to record a normal episode of Rule of Carnage, and secondly, I've seen a lot of lovely new shinies in the miniatures gaming world over the weekend, so I thought I'd do a roundup of what was showing at the convention. Hopefully there might be something interesting in here to catch your eyes and get some minis and games onto your tabletop that maybe you haven't come across beforehand. So I'm not going to do it in any particular order. I'm going to start with mainly the minis, terrain and accessories stalls, and then move on to some of the games. But before I start with those, a little shout out. All weekend, these guys from the supporting the National Kidney Federation were out running and demoing games tirelessly just for the good of raising the money. So I wanted to give them a little mention. If you have the opportunity, stop by, give them some support. www.kidney.org.uk. They're doing wonderful work. And they gave up their whole weekend to run games just to raise a little bit of money for charity. So I want to give those guys a quick shout out. Moving on to the stalls that are running, showing bits and pieces, fun things. First up, just down from us, there was Crooked Dice. We're big fans of 7TV over here at Rule of Carnage, and they were out showing off their new releases, their Dracula based feature pack for 7TV, and some of their sort of more unusual beasties and creatures and dungeon delving goodness. So if you are a fan of pulp TV, pulp horror gaming, definitely stop by, pick up some 7TV stuff. I heartily recommend it. Very narrative, lots of cool stuff going on. Just on our row, we had Sarissa Precision. As you can see, those were the last Gaslands refueled books in the convention at this point. And yes, they've got some Hot Wheels cars directly on their stall. We did really well over the weekend. All of the Gaslands refueled books in the convention were sold out by halfway through Sunday. So Sarissa got lots of bits and pieces for your gaming needs there: terrain, miniatures, everything you could possibly want. And then moving along, full colour fantasy here. Now, they've got a Kickstarter coming up for their Dead Quick Dungeon. This is sort of 2D pieces, sort of standees for your miniatures, and they're going to be running a Kickstarter where you can have some fully and specifically customized bits and pieces to get your minis, your 2D printed miniatures onto the table super quick. So if you are a fan of 2D miniatures, if you like the idea of super quick standees to replace out 3D minis, cut down on painting time, quick setup, check these guys out, check out their Kickstarter, give them a back when it comes up. And talking of very quick, easy to set up terrain, we've got here the guys from Everything Epic. They have their pop-up terrain, so everything you see on this table is pop-up buildings. Each of them are on a board that folds up, stores on a shelf like a book or a folder or something of that nature. Everything's fully playable. You can get miniatures up on top of the terrain, and you can have an amazing looking tabletop set out in ridiculously quick time. Store it down. You could get, multiple tabletops worth of terrain into a simple carry bag or onto a normal bookshelf, which I think is absolutely fantastic. Brilliant idea. TTCombat were there through the weekend, showing off Carnival along with some of their other bits and pieces and other games. Lovely sort of Venetian city table they had for running games throughout the weekend. I love Carnival, particularly the second edition. Some fantastic movement rules in there. If you want to see some really sort of unusual movement abilities, check that out. And this is the TTCombat Games' laser cut terrain table. You can see every sort of laser cut MDF terrain you could possibly imagine. Super cheap, very quick to get set up, put onto the tabletop. Well worth stopping by if you're looking for a box of interesting and unusual, convenient and cheap terrain. Here we have the extremely splendid ROK miniatures. So these guys make teeny tiny versions of some existing game systems. So down here on the bottom left we've got a teeny tiny version of Gaslands, which we think is super cool, which is part of why over here on the stall you can see that Mike's dropped in some quick start guides for Hobgoblin to sort of for him to hand out for people and suggest playing Hobgoblin in teeny tiny scale. There'll be links to all of the stalls, traders, people that we featured in the video down below, but please do stop by ROK Miniatures, give them a bit of support with a very splendid project of making very cool games quicker and easier to play and better to get onto the tabletop. So over here we've got Bad Squiddo, a very splendid independent miniatures producer, particularly if you enjoy pulp gaming. I've got a few of their miniatures, some of their sort of pulp horror ranges. They've got some really cool, unusual, quirky miniatures available, scenics, all sorts of bits and pieces. They've also got, you know, World War II miniatures, all sorts of ranges, everything you can imagine, but particularly I'm a big fan of their pulp stuff, of their sort of narrative feature game miniatures, so definitely check out Bad Squiddo. We've got Deepcut Studio. This photo is being taken with Mike standing right behind me, trying to jump onto shopping at the stall. So all of these pictures are taken before the convention opened in the morning, because that's the one time I could get round. And Mike stood right behind me because he's about to do some shopping at Deepcut. I've got Deepcut Studio mats. They really are fantastic, particularly if you want something a little bit unusual, a sort of a different picture, a different setting. They have a huge range of options available, so definitely drop by Deepcut if you're looking to pick up any sort of gaming mat. I will say I'm not being sponsored by anybody in the video. This is just, these are the guys I like, these are the things I want to feature and want to give shout outs to. Over here, talking about teeny tiny version of existing games, we've got the Tiki 2D Wargaming stall, where they've got these little weeny 6mm versions of Pike and Shot and games of that nature, which I think is super cool. I love anything that will get more minis onto the tabletop more quickly in less space. So check these guys out for teeny tiny versions of some other existing games you might be enjoying. Okay, that's it for the sort of miniatures, accessories, terrain stalls from the convention this year. Moving on to some of the games that were showing through the convention. Over here we've got Titan Forge. They were showing off their absolutely splendid Bloodfields game. So this is a very sort of narrative, card-driven, sort of close-in, detailed, small-scale skirmish game. As you can see from the picture, lots of counters and cards and detailed abilities. So if you're looking for something, and again, as you can see, the board, the playing surface is absolutely tiny, so it's much more about the detailed interactions of the individual miniatures. If you're interested in something like that, something really sort of small in scope, if not in scale, loads of cards and abilities and cool detailed hero miniatures, check out these guys. Over here, there's this little startup company called Osprey Games you might have heard of. If you haven't come across Osprey and you're listening to this channel, something's gone a little bit awry somewhere. But Osprey were out demoing the Splendid Undaunted. As always, stop by Osprey. They've got 1,000,001 fantastic things, several of which we've had some hand in creating. Over at the Gale Force 9 stall, they had the excellent World of Tanks. If you're a fan of moving around teeny tiny tanks and blowing each other up, and why absolutely would you not be a fan of that, do check out Gale Force 9. They're running some really cool skirmish games, and I think again, I'm a big fan of small scale, if not scope games. So it's great with World of Tanks to get a bunch of tanks onto the tabletop really quickly, really easily, get them moving around, blowing stuff up. Modiphius, we're here with an absolutely stunning Elder Scrolls Call to Arms table. Check this guy out, sort of raging up through this sort of massive snowy temple. You can see quite how big this table is from like the scale of the miniatures against the sort of epic backdrop that they're moving through. Call of Arms, obviously very splendid system, and the table here absolutely stunning, sort of giving people the opportunity to play on something this cool is in my opinion a super excellent thing to do. Over here we've got Eldfall Chronicles. So this is, as you can see, a very sort of detailed zoomed in game. So this is a competitive or cooperative game, so it has a set of rules for playing against a game AI system. You can solo this, you can play it cooperative, you can play it as a sort of a dungeon crawler, or more open scenarios, but full AI systems. Super splendid because they've got their expansion Northern Wind coming to Kickstarter in the very near future. So if you're looking to get in on a Kickstarter for some really cool minis in a very sort of zoomed in narrative scale game that can be soloed or played cooperatively, then Eldfall Chronicles I think has got some really excellent looking stuff and a really cool game. So over here, this is one that I somehow wasn't aware of. This is Snap Ships Tactics. This is a sort of dogfighting sci-fi deep space game, but the bits and pieces you got on the tabletop there are ships that you snap together. So you build your ship as you sort of build your ship, as it were, and you put the bits and pieces onto the ship that you want it to have. You physically build out the weapons and abilities into the ship, which I think is super cool. So a sort of cross between X-Wing and Lego, so who doesn't want that? That's excellent. I can't believe I've come across this one before, but check out Snap Ships Tactics if you like quickly building ships and getting some dogfighting going on. Over here we've got Cerberus Studios. Now we have featured their Kickstarter in the Wednesday roundup, and it should still be live when this video goes out. So if you're interested in again narrative zoomed in scale skirmish game, the miniatures themselves are 54mm, so extra sort of detailed, extra chunky, really nice for sort of getting some paint onto some very sort of detailed miniatures without the detail being so small that it's very hard to get into. What I think is particularly interesting about this game, as you can probably see from the picture on screen, it's got a sort of cube management Euro gamey sort of feel to the actual management of the miniatures themselves, which I think is super interesting. So if you like the idea of a bit of cube pushing, a bit of Euro gaming within your miniatures wargaming, definitely check out Cerberus Studios. As I say, the Kickstarter is live. Again, all of these guys will have links down in the comment section, but I'll put a link in the comment section straight through to their Kickstarter, which should still be running when this video goes up. Really cool set of miniatures. These guys have been at UKGE for the past 3 years with their minis, and now they're sort of putting them together into full game systems. So if you're interested in a bit of Euro gaming within your miniatures gaming, if you're interested in some beautiful larger scale 54mm minis. Give Cerberus Studios and Celestial Affinity a look over on Kickstarter. So over here we've got Trench Offensive, which I think is a super cool idea. Obviously there's a lot of Great War, World War II inspired gaming out there, but not so much I see that really focuses in on the idea of trench warfare. So this is a skirmish game system set within the trenches of World War One, really focusing in on the sort of the details of fighting in those sorts of close quarters, which I think is a great idea. I think it's a fantastic sort of concept for a system. Love to see something sort of trying out something that's well trodden. There's obviously plenty of World War games, but focusing on a different aspect of it like this. So I think this is super cool. Check out Trench Offensive for some Great War inspired trench combat. Over here we've got Reliquary from Warboss. Now this is again coming to Kickstarter very soon. It's a system with a built-in campaign system, so you move between a sort of hex-based campaign system game over to the sort of skirmish miniatures game. Think of it maybe as you know, if you were foolish enough as you know, to attempt to play Mighty Empires with each sort of battle played out in Warhammer. This is a system that's built to let you do that without it taking the whole of the rest of your life. So if you like the idea of a hex-based campaign system with the sort of skirmish game to resolve conflicts baked right into it, check out Warboss and Reliquary and follow along on their upcoming Kickstarter. Over here we've got Sythopian Wars. Talking of Kickstarters, Sythopian cancelled their first Kickstarter. They're hopefully coming back for a new one in the near future. They're sort of trying to build the audience at the moment, particularly after the first Kickstarter. They've gone back to develop a full solo mode. So if you're interested in the idea of a sort of a unique sci-fi IP with its own miniatures and its own system that has a sort of a built-in solo mode, and they're working through developing that at the moment, check out Sythopian Wars. Follow them along. Hopefully they'll be coming up for their second shot at the Kickstarter in the very near future. Over here we've got Exit 23 Games. So they were representing for the absolutely fantastic Relic Blade from Sean Sutter. So Exit 23 have not just Relic Blade, but their splendid Turbo Dork paint set available on their website. So, you know, if you don't know Relic Blade, dungeon delving, cooperative or soloable, detailed narrative skirmish game from Sean Sutter. Super cool, super fantastic, really, you know, fun and detailed and interesting, very narrative indeed. And Exit 23 Games have got Relic Blade and all the Relic Blade expansions available on their website if you're interested. And last of all, we've got Zeogenesis. So this is again an independent designer with a game based on sort of big battle suits in a sort of relatively small system. Looking to come out towards the end of this year. Now, Zeogenesis is currently open for playtesting. So if you go by the website, there's a system to sign up your gaming group for playtesting on this game. And I'd say a sort of large battle suit system, so sort of mech battle suits. Designed to be very scalable, very action filled, so 5 to 10 models to a force. Yeah, if you're looking to get in on playtesting a new and upcoming design, check out Zeogenesis. Okay, that's everything that sort of caught my eye that I thought was super cool at UKGE. At the moment, it is convention systems, so I'm going to be off and about around as many conventions as I can get to for the next few months. So that does mean that myself and Mike will be doing a couple of solo records, because we're not going to get together for a chat for a week or two. hopefully after the next couple of weeks we'll be back recording together, but next week I think you'll be seeing another solo video for me. Since I'm in the middle of conventioneering, I think I'll do a little bit something about demoing games or introducing people to games and running conventions. As usual on Wednesday I'll be back doing another Kickstarter roundup. If you have your eye caught by any of these games, if you choose to go along and follow the Kickstarters, please drop down into the comment section. Let us know which ones are interesting to you, which ones catching your eyes. Please, if you do choose to follow along, play test them, you know, get in on the betas, drop into the Discord and let us know which ones and whereabouts in the following and play testing you're sort of putting your 10 cents into. While you're down in the comment section, give us a like and subscribe. For now, from me, from this episode of Rule of Carnage, though, it's going to be a thank you and goodbye, and hope to see you out there on the convention circuit over the next few months. So, thank you and goodbye. Bye-bye. Bye.